Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Forest River Rpod 197. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you're pre-mounted for an observation camera, as well as a Lippert collapsible stair system if you'd like to get set up with either of those. Both are going to be great additions to your camper, and you just go ahead and contact our parts department, and that'd be the best route for getting a quote on getting set up with either of those things. But other than that, at the back, you're going to have your spare tire, and then you can get the rear bumper tube. Located inside that rear bumper tube is typically where you're going to want to store that sewer hose after your first use. We have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's nothing in here yet, but that is where you'll want to store it. It just tries to keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. And then coming to my left, you do get your stabilizer jacks. So the way those work are, they are stabilizing jacks, so it's going to be important that you level the unit first. After the unit's level, you can then run down your stabilizer jacks. Once the foot does contact the ground, you're just giving another 1/8 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see having the unit right now away. And in addition to that, if you are running it up and down with an impact, with the way cordless impacts are nowadays, just keep in mind how much torque you put on them. You don't want to bend them. They do bend pretty easily. You got your 2 low point drains right here in front or behind of that jack. So if you don't want water going stale or stagnant inside the lines, or at the end of your winterization process, it is a good idea just to crack those guys open to allow most of the antifreeze to escape out of the lines. That's how you do so at those valves, cracking them open. Then you come to your sewer outlet, taking that cap, twisting it off. Your sewer hose is going to have the same ears. They just twist and lock on here like so. And then you got your black tank and your gray tank. You always want to empty your black tank first. This is going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then you can come behind that with your gray tank. Typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. A little bit more to my left, you do get your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You just take a note of that little notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Once you do line those guys up, firm to push it into place, and then you get that 1/8 turn to lock it in. Threaded color if you really want to lock that cord down. If you follow the cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Now most campsites should have this. You can plug right on in, but let's say your campsite only has 15 amp service, which is your standard household outlet, or you have the unit at home and you just want to run up your fridge or whatever else. We do include that 15 amp park adapter inside your starter kit. Just keep it in mind whenever you are using it. It's not to run your air conditioner. It's really just to run your fridge and your lights and keep things going. To run your air conditioner, it does require more amperage, which 15 amp just doesn't have enough of. You get your furnace exhaust here, so whenever your furnace is running, this will be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. And then right up top here, you get your range hood flap. So once you get to your campsite, it's going to be pretty important that you remember to unclip this. That way you can evacuate those fumes as you are making them. But whenever you're traveling or not using the unit, try to remember to snap it back into place. That's going to stop any excess dust from getting inside the unit during storage or travel, and of course stopping any critters from getting inside, creating a den, which again, another thing you don't want. You get your fresh water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in. Your fresh water connection. So if you're out boondocking or your campsite doesn't have water, you can just put a garden hose in here, turn it on, fill up your tank. You can also siphon water in there in case it was a colder season. That's how you do that. City water connection. So if you are at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on, pressurize all those lines. Then straight down below the floor, you get this little cap. Take this cap off, remove it out of place. It's going to be how you drain all the water out of your fresh tank if there was any in there. Then inside here, this is going to be the first side of your storage compartment. Now also behind these 2 screws that hold in this false panel, it's also where you're going to get access to your water pump for winterization. You got your manual tool for those stabilizer jacks. And then inside here is just that standard starter kit. That's where you're going to find that 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, including a 15 amp park adapter. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery disconnect switch right here in the front, so with it in the off position like it is now, the batteries are disconnected from the unit. If you were to turn that to the on position, the batteries now become connected to the unit. The battery is located underneath this box here. You get your 2 front propane tanks, typically standard, which you can, if you're just needing to turn it on or off quickly, you can just loosen off these tabs at the top, slide them out of the way, lift up the tank. You get access to both the tops of the tank. But for the purpose of the video, this does just slide right out of place. And then right at the front, you got your selector valve. So with it pointed this way, you're currently drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty or dry, you can just turn it off, flip it over to the other side, and start drawing off this tank while this one sits, or whether if you go and get it picked up, filled up, counterclockwise like any standard barbecue, just like at home. So just open up the flow to the unit. Inside this side of the storage compartment, it is the other side of the storage compartment, and that's also where you're going to find a little exterior table, as well as a griddle system that hooks up to the side of the trailer. The mounting rail for that is just all right here. So the griddle would have its own mount that clips into place. The griddle slides on top of it. Then run the propane quick connect line down to your other side of your propane quick connect. Pull back on the collar like any standard airline, insert the appropriate end. Clamps, it's going to lock it into place. Now, opening up the flow of propane would open up the flow to the griddle, and you'd be ready to fire it up as long as the quick connect was hooked up on your griddle end, and you're good to go. It's an added safety measure. You can't operate this coupler with the flow of propane open, so you do have to actually close the coupler for you to be able to operate this. Black tank flush. So if you're noticing false monitor panel readings around the unit or just an odor, it's always a good idea to use this, especially after every couple of uses. It just keeps that tank that little bit cleaner. It's just very important that you do read the caution sticker. It's very important that you have the sewer hose connected and the black tank valve open. Failure to do so, it could expand that tank to the point of cracking, because if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank, that pressure does have to have somewhere to go. You get a little hot and cold exterior shower. You do get hot and cold water there. The corresponding end is inside the compartment. You just take the two notches, line them up with the corresponding spots here, push and twist into place. You got sprayable hot and cold water. And then in this last back corner here, flip this guy open. This is the service port for your hot water heater. The main switch here, turning this switch off, turns off power to the 12 volt inside. So if you want to use it, you just have to turn that switch on. Then supplies power to the thermostat inside, which I'll go over once we get there. If you had a tanked water heater before, you probably remember the winterization process being a little bit differently. There's bypass valves. This system is the complete opposite. There's no bypass valves you need to turn. You do just run antifreeze through the system. And once you're done running antifreeze completely through the system and completely through the rest of the trailer, just crack this pressure relief valve like it is now and leave it cracked open for the duration of winter. So that way during those extremely cold Manitoba winter months and the antifreeze starts gelling up, it does have a place to escape to. It doesn't expand and crack inside your coils. Lock that into place. Now for the best part, you take a step on its side. You're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up fully at 90 degrees. It's going to lock you down into place. Then open up your door. Now to get your stairs down, you do have to open up your door all the way. Then you just pull on the tab at the stair, pull them towards you. The stairs are going to start to hold it down. Now you do the adjustable campsite feet, got these little latches on either side, locks into the corresponding channels. So just set them up so that the stairs sit nice and level. The idea of it is to get this black faceplate as close to the silver catch plate as possible. That way that door can open and close freely. But with the door fully closed, you are going to notice if you were to try to run that awning, it's going to run into contact with the door. If you don't notice it right away, it's going to cause damage. We do want to avoid that. So just always try to remember to close this door 90 degrees. That way that awning arm can travel in and out freely. Whenever you're opening or closing the unit, it's going to be very important you check that. And then now the big thing for this trailer here that I almost missed on the outside is these two handles. If you twist them like so, that does unlock them. It allows you to open up this window. Pretty cool. You do get a nice little serving area, so you could pass food, drinks, whatever, back and forth. Now let's say you're not using it for that, you just want some breeze through, but you're worried about the bugs. Rpod, they're already thinking of that. They got this nice little bug screen. It's gonna stop any bugs from getting inside, but let's say it's nighttime. You wanna sleep a little bit longer inside. Also has a night shade, you just have to pull it down the opposite direction. And then to get this down, it's all pretty simple. It's just on its own gas struts. You just push the window closed, latch the handles, and that does seal out the water from the inside now. And you're all locked up, ready to travel. But now for the best part, take a step on the side. First thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is just like at home, pull the pin and shoot. Now once you're inside, if you walk straight ahead, you come to these switches here. One on your far right, it's interior light switch. It's going to turn on all the main interior lights. Now let's say you don't like that and you don't want all the lights to turn on at the same time. Perfect, because they all are on their own center push buttons. So you can decide which ones stay on or which ones stay off. And it's totally customizable, which I thought was really cool. Porch light, awning LED light, that obviously turns on the orange porch light outside, and the awning LED strip light that's underneath the awning. And then that does bring me to my awning. So making sure that your door is closed 90 degrees first. You can push and hold that extend button. The awning's going to start making its way out. And once that awning is at its full extension, you'll see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Just keep in mind, sometimes that flap can get stuck. So you might just have to retract it a couple feet and then put it back out again for it to come down. You don't want to roll it the opposite way up, as that just creates a whole bunch of other issues. So you got that little flap coming down, you see that back of the metal tube, so you know you're at your full extension. Now whenever you do put this awning out, it's going to be very crucial that you do try and keep in mind wind speeds. Once the wind speeds start picking up, it's going to be very important you bring that awning back in before you either rip your fabric or bend your arms. It gets pretty costly pretty quick, something you're going to want to avoid. Now if it were to start raining, you can take it in on the front or rear, pull down on that there, pull the arm towards you, lock it in place. You're going to see that changes the pitch to the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it also allows for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just make sure that before you ever try to bring the awning in, you allow both arms back to their natural resting positions and clamping them back into place. That way it can go in and out freely without binding or any other issues. And then to bring it in, it's just as simple as holding the retract button. The awning's going to start rolling its way in, and once the arms do contact the side of the trailer, the motor will automatically cut out. Now, I know a lot of people panic when it comes time to rolling these in when it's wet. Now, you can do so, and it isn't the end of the world if you do so. It's always very important that your next earliest convenience, do remember to roll it back out and allow it adequate time to dry off. That way, it'll accelerate the growth of mold and mildew inside of there. So that is really the only harm to rolling it in while it's wet. So if you're in a storm and you notice the winds are picking up, make sure you bring it in. Just when the storm's done, put it back out and allow it time to dry off. Now that those arms are contacted onto the side of the trailer, you're all done. Now we'll start in the front of the trailer, I guess, and that's typically where you're going to find the bed space. This is what we call a, I forget the name of it, and I shouldn't, but I did. But you pull down on the foot of the couch, the couch then folds down into a bed. At that point, you can come take your travel strap here, travel latch, pull the mattress down, and it comes and flips down towards you. Now the same deal with this outside window on this side here with the shade. Your front window also has that same feature with the double shade action, and you can open up that window right up. You just have to undo the red tabs, holding the window closed, push the window out. Once the window's pushed out to the height that you desire, you just have to tighten up both these knobs on either side. That's going to allow the window to then hold itself up. And then, of course, if you want to bring that window down because it's getting chilly, you just have to loosen those knobs back off, leaving them loose, allowing the window to come back close, latching it back down, and you're all done. You do get little storage access on both sides of the bed. There's also going to be some plugins inside of there. And then if you wanted to flip this back into a couch quickly, it does happen pretty quickly. Push, lock that into place, make sure it is locked into place. That way it doesn't come down on anyone's head. And then just grab to the foot of the couch, and sometimes you do have to grab the top a little bit as you assist it down back into place. Over here, you're going to notice some travel strapping. That is holding these stools down. It's very important that you always strap these stools up whenever you're traveling. That way they're not able to slam around, causing any damage. The same does go for the TV. It's on a swivel mount, so if it's not locked into place like it is now with these straps, it's going to allow that TV to swing around back and forth, and if it's not strapped down, again, it's probably going to cause damage. It's something you're going to want to be avoiding. Up top here, you do get this coax outlet, and this little black button here turns that green light on. Turning that green light on, that's turning your antenna on in the roof. Now that's also going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so we always recommend typically leaving it on whenever you're camping. But whenever you're not using the unit, try to remember to turn it back off. That way you're not drawing excessive battery power. So I went over this control here. Up top, you get your stereo, which is pretty much just like home, minus the fact of zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 is interior, zone 2 is exterior. Other than that, it's pretty much your standard at-home stereo. Bluetooth, you got USB plug-in, you even have a little HDMI plug-in as well. And then on this side, you get your solar controller. So now we do currently have it set up for your basic charging needs. If there's sun outside hitting that solar panel, it's going to be applying a charge to the front battery. But if you go into your owner's manual, you can go over a bunch of different settings you can play with. Again, it gets pretty in-depth, so that's why I will recommend just going over the owner's manual before you go play with any of those settings. And then right down below, you get your thermostat. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is that this unit is equipped with propane. Now, because we're equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, you just get into concerning levels of oxygen inside. So you're going to want to close off the main supply at the front of the unit, open up some windows and vents, and get some fresh oxygen inside of here. In addition to that, the propane system, when it's turned off at the bottle at the front, it slowly allows air into the system. Once air does make its way in, it does have to be purged out. Now, the quickest, easiest way to do that is going to be firing up our stove. And the reason I say that is because you get to decide how long the gas runs for, how many lighting sequences it tries to go over. If you go to fire up your furnace, your water heater, or anything like that, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times, and if they don't sense a flame because there's no gas getting to them yet, it's going to throw a fault code. And if you don't know what the fault code means, it's probably going to throw a little bit of wrench into your weekend. Maybe you contact your sales guy, and it's just something as small as a purging issue. So again, that's why you come to your stove. As soon as you can get your stove to light, run it for a few seconds. That usually means that the propane is purged for the most part. And whenever you are trying to light anything propane inside of here, always try a second time if it doesn't light the first time, because again, it could just be a fluke with a purging issue. Now that we're done talking about that, if you push and hold your thermostat power button, it's going to bring you your last known setting. So in this situation, it's the fan. So on the fan setting, you were just moving air around using the air conditioner. No cooling involved. Power button one more time, and it'll bring you to a dry mode. So that's a dehumidifying mode to try and take as much moisture out of the air using the air conditioner. One more time after that. That's when you get to your cool setting. So now this air conditioner is going to take into effect. Plus, up and down at any point in time to change your set temperature. Now, the set temperature does only work whenever you do have your fan setting in A. I'm going to always recommend leaving your fan setting in A, as it creates an on-demand system, so it's only going to run the air conditioner until, well, in this situation we would need the heat to turn on. But if it was, let's say, we had the thermostat set to 60 degrees and it's 64, once it reaches 60, it'll automatically kill the air conditioner. If you have that fan setting on either high or low, the air conditioner fan will run continuously until you actually manually turn it off. The same does go for if you were on the air conditioning, you ran it all day, comes nighttime, cooled down, you want to turn the heat on to warm it up a little bit in here. If you didn't turn the fan setting to A before trying to fire the furnace, it would keep the air conditioner fan running as well as the furnace fan. The furnace is its own entity. It runs off propane, moves all its air through that duct you have right here. The air conditioner, a little bit different. It's a ceiling unit, moves all its air through up here, and it runs off electricity. Push that power button one more time. That's going to take you off of cool, bring you down into the furnace mode, and then of course having this fan setting on automatic is very crucial for the furnace to fire up properly. And if we were at the temperature that we wanted, if we had the thermostat turned up, it would have kicked in the heater and started heating it up in here until of course we reach temperature, and then it would automatically turn it off. Whenever the furnace does stop running, it does run for an additional 3 minutes to allow itself to cool down as an added safety feature. One more time after that, it's just going to cycle you back over to the fan setting, which is what we started at. Push and hold the power button to actually turn the system off. Down below here, you got your main GFI plug. So if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work inside of here, this would be the first place I'd look. Just make sure that the system isn't tripped. Sometimes it can trip for the oddest reasons. So again, if you go to plug into something, it doesn't work, just double check that this isn't tripped. Next, you got your monitor panel system. So if you push the button, it tells you the corresponding level. Water pump, turning that on, draws out of your fresh tank, and then of course you get your water heater switch. Now, because this is a tankless system, if you push this, this supplies power to this, up and down at any time to change your set temperature. Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button, up or down to change your set temperature. It's currently running through a startup sequence because we had the power off, obviously. But that's as simple as it is for that. But because this is a tankless system, it does operate a little bit differently than your tanked system. When you turn that hot water on, you're probably asking yourself, well, I don't know what temperature my hot water is at. So you might have to play with it a little bit in the beginning, but this system does run the most efficiently when you turn on your hot water. To just turn on the hot, you don't want to have to blend in the cold. So set that temperature where you find it most comfortable and leave it there just so you have to have the hot on. And the reason I say all this is because this system does operate off flow. As water flows through that system, there's a big flame in the middle that heats it because the water's flowing through a bunch of copper coils. So if you went to go crack in the cold to blend it down a little bit, it does throw off the flow, which then affects your water temperature. You could get some inconsistencies and all that good stuff. So again, just set the temperature where you find it the most comfortable with just the hot on and go from there. Other than that, that pretty much is it for the kitchen area. It's pretty standard. And then we got our fridge, which is last, but of course, again, not least, one of the more efficient, one of the most important things. Freezer up top, fridge down below. We got a charcoal filter in the top left corner. That's just to help with fridge odors. These are replaceable. We sell replacement ones here at the shop. If you'd like to get, again, into contact with the parts department, maybe the best way to get set up with those. Up top, you get your temperature control. Cranking it all the way to the right is obviously its coldest setting. It's going to be also the setting that gets the fridge the coldest the fastest. And then you're going to notice some off-grid writing here. That's just letting you know the most energy efficient setting to run it on if you're running it off battery power. Below from there, you get your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All your corresponding fuses will be on the right. There will be a little red indicator light letting you know which one's popped and when it's popped. You got your central vac system, which is kind of a 2-in-1 system. So obviously, if you got your tool, which is located inside the front compartment, you can insert into here. Switch on, it's going to start sucking. All of that does go back into this bag here, which isn't hooked up, so it's a good thing it's hooked. So one end is obviously going to be connected to the back because you want to connect for your dustpan system. And then this one will be connected to the front here. So that is how you would change your bag when it comes time to you needing to. Downward panel, if you lift that up, whatever you had put in front of there, it will suck it up. But just keep it in mind, they call it a dustpan system for a reason. It realistically is just for dust, gravel, things like that. You're not going to be wanting to suck any sticks or anything like that into there because, again, it's all going inside of a bag. You don't want to puncture the bag, otherwise there's no point in the bag. So just keep it in mind, whatever you are sucking in through there is going into a bag. You got a little pantry space here to keep all your goods. And then last but not least, in the back bathroom, it is essentially your back bathroom. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up above my head. You get your Furrion vent system here. I'm going to pull this off to the side. Pull that down, that unlocks it. You can then turn it clockwise, which will allow it to open. Now, if we do open up this vent fan all the way, you're going to notice we open up straight into the atmosphere. So, of course, if it were to start raining, it's going to get wet inside of here. And if you forgot this open before you left for travel, there is the risk you run of damaging it. Unless, of course, you went with a max air cover. It's pretty much a cover that goes over top of here. It's going to allow you to run this whether it's raining, hot, cold, no matter what, you can run this because there's a cover over top of it. And of course, if you were to forget it open during travel, it's not the end of the world as it is protected by that cover. It's also going to allow you a little more protection against hail. If you'd like to get set up with that, it's again just as easy as contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to put together a quote for you. But other than that, that is it for the bathroom inside of here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call at 204-232-7272.